Hello, welcome to 15 Minutes of Consulting Best Practices. I'm Maria Isabel Rios, and I'm joined by David A. Fields. Hello, David.
Hi, Maria Isabel. It's been a few weeks since we've done this together.
I know, I've missed it.
It's excellent.
All right, welcome back, everyone. As you know, we love having you here. We love your participation. This is how we answer your questions about how to grow and create success for your consulting firm. And your participation enhances the discussion, your opinion, your questions. So if you're here, add your question right away. It takes us a minute to see it. And if you don't chime in, we don't know you're here. So let us know you're here. Say hi, drop a line. It will make the discussion richer and more valuable for everybody. And with that, Deidre, why don't you share? I think there's a question from last week. Hello, Caitlin. Good to see you. So there's a question from last week that we promised we would answer first. And I think that's what we have queued up for this week to get us started.
Okay.
Thank you, Deidre. So Caitlin asks, I struggle to meet with more senior execs. I have a fantastic network with my peers and 1-2 levels up, but not with senior VPs or 3-4 levels up from my last job in industry. What to do to get there to build executive level relationships? David, what's your advice to Kate?
Okay, so you saw this last week.
I did. Exactly.
And hi, Preston and Colby and Josh. Okay, this is an interesting question. If you join consulting from a more junior position, how do you, and your relationships are with junior people, how do you reach the senior folks that have the purses that are making the decisions? In some ways, the first relationships are the hardest. After that, it's pretty easy. So one way or another, you need to get yourself into the first relationships or your first projects, because once you have a project, it's easy. And you just need to get introductions. There's as far as I know, Marisabel, you may have some other thoughts on it. I mean, the best way is you use your current relationships to introduce you to higher level people, and you build from there. Now, once you have a project, any kind of project, and Katrin, you've had a number of projects, I know this, then you're all set. Because at the start of every project, you should be interviewing top level people. As a matter of course, as a matter of almost any kind of project, you're going to interview internal people as broadly as you can and as high level as you can. And that serves as your introduction. And then you just need to follow up that interview with I'd love to just get to know you a little bit more outside of the confines of this project, because what you're saying is so interesting. Could we grab another 15 minutes somewhere? And they will say yes. And from there, once you've met some senior level people, they can introduce you to more senior level people. Once you get rolling, it's not so hard. I think the hard part is just getting started in it. Marisabel, what would you add? You've had a little bit more time to think on this one.
Well, the one thing I would add, it's a little bit of a nuance. So once you're in conversation with your first round, as you're saying, once you're interviewing folks, once you're presenting to them, right, in the context of your first projects, or once you're at conferences and you're kind of listening to folks speak that have the titles, right, there are those levels up, there are VP levels above. Listen to the terms they use, listen to the problems they're tackling, listen to what matters to them or what they value the most, because you want to be speaking to their needs, to what is urgent for them, to the value, and aligning kind of how you position your firm to that level, right? So if how people talk about problems evolves as they move up in their organizations, and it typically does, you want to make sure that you can connect with a language that's being used by VPs to describe the problems, and not that you're using language that they will typically associate with more junior folks. Yep. So keep that in mind as you're having conversations as well. All right. We have a few questions that came in, David, as you were sharing. So the first one is from Preston, right? Preston, you're saying on your mind, reviewing the fishing line. All right. And I love that you're using one of our terms, right? So David, tell us what a fishing line is succinctly, and then we'll
Well,
talk
so
about it.
so is Preston's question like, what is a fishing line, or is it like reviewing a specific one? For all of you, I mean, the best place to get a lot of feedback quickly on a fishing line is actually at a solo practice accelerator.
Right.
I think the one coming up is full, but you should write to us if
Right.
if that would be of any interest to you. The fishing line is encapsulates what you do and for whom, or I should say the problem you solve and for whom, in its shortest form. It is really simply a screening device to let people either say, oh, wait, I have that problem and I'm that kind of person, or to say, no, you were not a good prospect for you, which is very, very valuable information. So a fishing line, ideally 15 words or less, very tight target market description, very precise problem description or aspiration, if you want to phrase the problem as aspiration. Just that, not how you solve it, nothing about your firm, just who you work with and what problem you solve for them. That's a fishing line. That's what's on people's mind, by the way, when you're talking with them. They're talking with you in any kind of business context. What they're thinking is, could this person help me? Do they work with folks like me? And could they solve my exact problem?
Right.
So you're answering those two questions.
Right. And it's not a tagline, right?
No,
It's
not
not,
tagline.
not a tagline. It's not some sort of like branding device. All right. Then Josh, you had a question. You say, how should one balance outreach and patience following up? What is a good cadence to follow up? All right. So 2 scenarios for you, Josh. Typically, we want you to reach out to folks in your network core, meaning they're decision makers, warm relationships, or influencers that you want to keep in contact with, right? For the type of consulting you sell. We want you to reach out to them every 3 to 4 months, right? 3 to 4 times a year to keep that relationship warm. Now, following up, it would depend, right? So say you sent an outreach message today, you don't hear back right away. You have a decision to make. Within 14 days, do you ping that person back? Or do you set them up for the next outreach within 3 to 4 months? More frequent than that, you risk going away from relationship building and being perceived to be in sales mode, even if that's not your intent. Less frequent than that, and you risk being forgotten altogether. So too long in between outreaches. So let us know, Josh, if that's a good kind of rule of thumb for you to think about, and we'll follow up with that. And yes, Preston, you've been working on multiple versions of your fishing line, and can see here. And Josh, you've been refining yours for 3 months. None of that is unusual, right? A fishing line typically requires iteration. You put it out there, you hear how people are reacting. Is it attracting the right reactions from the right folks? That's how you know your fishing line is working. If not, you iterate. It requires patience. Patience to get it right, and a lot of kind of willingness to go back to the drawing board and iterate again. Right. Next question is from Colby, I think.
Yeah.
You want to read it, David? Or you want
Sure.
me
It
to?
says, hey, David, M. Isabel. What are the top 2 or 3 steps to build my practice while employed? Colby, while I'm finishing reading this, let us know whether your employer knows you're building your practice.
Right.
That will have some impact. And what strategies will best ensure a smooth transition to full-time solo consulting? All right. So look, it's obviously more fun, easier, better to start your consulting practice with a client. So, and the way you get a client and the way you build your practice is before you jump in, you're in a great position to be, and good on you for thinking about this before you start, is listen to the market, build relationships, and listen to the market. So that when you do launch your practice, you're launching with an understanding of what your market wants and the ability to offer the services that they're going to buy. And if you do that, you have the highest likelihood of actually starting with clients already. So listen, this is a great time to do marketing research, to really talk to folks and listen. And what are they buying? What aren't they buying? What have they spent money on in the past? Marie-Isabel, you come out a different place, or do you come out similar?
Exactly the same place. And what you just said, David, it's really important. There's always a temptation to say, I have this great idea, and I want to run it by folks and say, would you buy this offering, this
Yeah, don't do that.
consulting offering? And exactly, I just saw you shake your head, David, because most folks that like you will tend to say, yes, of course, right? Or that's an interesting idea, right? Because they will react positively to your thinking, they would react positively to your problem solving, they would react positively to your exercise. They will find the value in your idea, and so they will validate it. That in itself doesn't guarantee that you would have success with it, nor does it guarantee that you're fishing where the fish are. What you really need to be asking is, what problems are you paying to solve today? Which is a completely different question. It's a question about them, and it's not a question about you. It puts your ideas completely on the side, right? You're not conditioning them to react to anything you bring. You're coming in with a blank sheet of paper. For most of us who are intellectually curious, if you will, that's difficult to do. But it's the necessary condition for success, if you will, in this research and in positioning yourself well against the market. David, what do you think?
Yeah, well, 100%. I mean, asking what people will buy, so for purchase intent, is notoriously inaccurate,
Right.
unreliable information. Whereas judging or assessing what the market is buying, has spent money on, is rock solid. So yeah, agree 100%. Colby, let us know if that helps or doesn't help, or if you have follow-up
Exactly.
questions on that. Let's see. John's commenting on a prior question. Brad, you mentioned the importance of developing relationships at platforms, for instance, Cadillac Umbrex, et cetera. What's the best way to approach this, given that these people, for example, Will and account managers, are extremely busy and hard to identify? What do you think,
Ooh.
Marie-Isabel?
Ah. Well, you got to keep asking, right? So ask, who is the best person to get in touch with? I would like to have a conversation. Look, Will has a team, account managers, a Catalan. You may have to iterate a couple of times before you find the right person to speak with. If they're smart, they'll speak with you, right? There's a lot for them to gain, just as much as there is for you. And put them in your network core. Treat them as you will any other prospect. Even if they don't reach back out to you, reach back out again in 3 months, in 4 months, right? Just what we were talking about at the beginning of our 15 minutes. Keep at it. Keep trying to build a relationship. Keep building it around connection and what would be valuable to them. Also, all platforms that we know of have very clear directives on what it takes to win projects in their platform. So read their materials, watch their videos, follow their directions on how they want you to submit proposals and when and what it takes, and ask them questions about it. That place of curiosity will put you in a better position to both develop their relationship and be called when they have projects that match your area of expertise. David, do you have anything to add that's different?
Well,
Or
in terms of meeting the folks, I usually, once you apply for a job for one of the posts, you will have an opportunity to meet somebody there. Even if you don't, and while you, as Marie-Isabel says, you don't need to know Will. You need to know somebody at Umbrex or Veritux. You need to know somebody at Catalan. I mean, you don't need to know Pat Petiti. So
right.
um, you can build those relationships over time. Be visible. Being visible helps. They're more likely to think of you. Be very specific in your expertise. There, a company, any of those platforms have absolutely no use for generalists. They'll use specialists 95 times out of 100
Right.
for projects, and be responsive.
Right.
Fastest one in is most likely to win. So that's that. And look at that. And there's more questions. So we're going to have to get to some of these next time. John, you've asked a good question. We'll get to that next time. Fishing lines take time. They can take a couple of years. So if you've been working on yours for a couple of months, it's okay. It's way easier than, it's way easier in theory than it is in practice to build a fishing line. And with that, look, we've crushed this 15 minutes. Thank you for spending it with us. By the way, if there's anything you might want to go back to, you're like, oh, wait, that point went by quickly. Just save today's session on LinkedIn. And though most of you know this already, an easy way to come back every week is to put Monday Live in your calendar. So Deidre's filling in for Jaron this week. So thank you, Deidre, for putting that in. Just put that in your calendar for every Monday, and that way you come back. If for some reason you're not receiving the articles, do subscribe and get our articles every week. If nothing else, you'll usually get a food reference and a funny illustration, but there's usually more than that. And connect to us, connect to Marie-Isabel, connect to me. Deidre has put our LinkedIn stuff down there, information. And thank you for being here. Thank you for joining Marie-Isabel and me. I hope you found value in this. Have a fabulous week. And remember, consulting is not about you. It's about them. It's about your clients. It's about your prospects. So give them value and give them kindness. And we will see you next week. Take care, all.
Thank you.